So let's start out with you know, how I constructed these. You can see right here, I at the top, we've got it's an L girder. In this application, it's really, you know, forming the top base of the stand that I'm building. But you can see it's two 4-inch pieces of 3/4 inch plywood, and I bonded them together. I bought a 4x8 sheet of plywood from Home Depot, and it's the birch plywood, so it's not that stranded stuff that bends and warps and has the uneven grain to it. This is the high quality stuff. So it probably cost me about $40 to get that. Then right there at Home Depot, I had them rip that down to 4-inch sections. So it took them about 10 minutes to rip it down from a you know, 4-foot wide sheet of plywood down to what I've got left here. So I'll give you an idea what that looks like. Here they are. So guys at Home Depot did a nice job on that. Ripped it down and gave me all of my girders to work with. So took those, cut them into in this area. For these, they're 3.5 feet long. So the one section of my room, which is 8 feet wide, I'm going to put 2 of these, 2 different platforms. So that'll give me, you know, if they were right next to each other, 3.5 and 3.5 would give me 7 feet. And that would be 6-inch overhang on both sides to take up the 8 feet. So I think that's going to work well. And what I did was, I got them together like that, clamped them, put some wood glue, and then you look at that top screw there, another screw there, and one there. So between the wood glue and those screws, it made it rock solid. Once those were done and dry, I added the legs, which are 1x3s, and the cross members are just furring strips, and those are really cheap, probably like $1.50 each for 8 feet. So and I think the 1x3s were $2.50 or $3 for an 8-foot section. I cut them in half to come up with what I've got here. When I say that I cut them in half, that's not exactly true. These are 39 inches. I wanted to keep it under 48 so that I can get 2 legs from each piece of 1x3. And I cut it to 39 because you've got 3/4 of an inch on top for the platform. And then down at the bottom, I've got those little felt tabs on the bottom, which are adjustable. So you take the 39, the 3/4, and the 1/4, that gets me 40. Then, once there's actually the L girders going across, if you can conceptualize that, those are 4 inches. So that gets me to 44. And then I'm going to use a 2-inch piece of foam, so that'll get me to 46. And 46 works well for me because for my height, for the stools that I'm using, when we're sitting there, it brings the it'll bring the trains to a really good eye level. Not too high, not too short. I think before you start any construction, you need to put some thought into that. There is no perfect answer. You look on the internet, some people say it has to be 48 inches, or I do mine at 47, 50 inches. Has to be eye level. It's going to depend on the geometry of your room, your height, your even furniture. What are your stools? What are the heights of those? It's going to make a difference. So I don't think there's an exact answer. You need to do what's right for you. So for me, I'm going to wind up at about 46 inches to the top. And that's going to suit my purposes just fine. So then, you may notice that these cross members that I'm using to strengthen these platforms, they're not the same. You say, well, what is he doing there? Well, on this side, you can see that they go down much lower, and I think that it's stronger than the one on the left. However, this is going to be on the back section, and if you can try to visualize it, they're going to be like that across from each other, with the L girders going across the top. So, the back section is going to be up against the wall. So I could spread those cross pieces far apart like that, give me the strength that I'm looking for. Up here, a little bit less strong, a little bit less, I guess you would call lateral strength on there. But the reason for that is, that's the side that's going to be facing the interior of the room. And I want to be able to sit there with a chair and not have my legs banging into these cross member pieces. So for the sections that are going to be facing the room, I put those a little bit higher. It came out plenty strong. It's very rigid, no issue at all. But where I can do that added strength, I made those a little bit wider apart out there. So that's it. That'll be the front section. That'll be the back section. And you can envision those 4-inch pieces of birch plywood going across to form the girders that will be on top. And that's about it. I got those cross pieces. In the middle, I put a 1-inch dowel. I cut that to size, put that in there, a little bit of wood glue, and tapped it in with a nail gun. Got my cross pieces there, cut them to size. And what I made sure was, on these edges, everything is perfectly flush, or like in this case, this cross piece is receded back maybe 1/8 of an inch, so that if needed, I could put these platforms will butt up right next to each other, and nothing's overhanging that'll screw that up. So I use those Spax screws, which I'll get into them in a later part of this video. These are really nice screws that I drove in there, countersunk them, because I envision a fascia being on the front of this, and used a nail gun to drive in the smaller pieces of wood. Everything's a combination wood glue and screws. It is solid, and that's about it. I'm going to have a couple more parts to this video just to show you some particular operations that I've done in crafting and constructing this. More to come. All right, guys. I'm going to give you a little bit more guidance on the bench work that I've been working on, and in this clip, I'm going to show what I've been doing with the actual legs of my bench work. And what I'm trying to do here is make sure that I am able, once I move these into position in their permanent location, I want to be sure that I'm able to get them precisely level. My intent is to buy very high quality rolling stock, let's say Exact Rail, for example, and if the trackage or the bench work is not level, the stuff is going to roll all over the place. So above and beyond the joints, now, certainly if as I'm going with a modular design, if I'm not able to level these from one to the next, the joints aren't going to be right. And above that, then even if, even on any particular section, if it's not level, we're going to be rolling all over the place with high quality rolling stock. So the way that I'm doing this is I'm putting what they're called is these threaded stem guides, and I'm putting these on the bottom of each leg of my bench work. I'm going to pick these up at Home Depot. I think they were about $4 for 4 of them, so probably about $1 a piece. So not bad. And here's what they look like. You get this little piece here that goes into the it's ribbed, and that's what's going to go into the leg, and that's going to provide the base into which you thread the actual bottom. And you can see, because you're able to thread it, you can adjust it up and down probably good. That's probably a little bit more than 1 inch there. So, and it's also got felt on the bottom, so if you got a hardwood floor or something like that, you can protect it. And it worked well for me. So here's what I did. I actually built a little template out of cardboard. When you look, what I did was I measured the leg of the base, which is a 1x3, and I cut out a template to the same dimensions. Because I'm doing many of these, I don't want to have to keep measuring it again and again and again. So I'm using this as a template. I got my threaded stem guides here. And I got my Milwaukee drill. And if you look at the box that came in, There's instructions on there, and it'll tell you to use an 11/32 drill bit. Well, I don't know if I'm the only person in the world who doesn't have 11/32 drill bits, but I've got this set here. I've got a Black & Decker set. I've got a Skill set. I've got 3 or 4 different sets of drill bits, and there's not an 11/32 in any of them. So because I graduated 3rd grade math, I was able to figure out it's really just about a 21/64. So that's what I've got on there. If you notice, there's a black line on that drill bit, and that's the depth that I need to go to. So I pre-mark that, because if you don't go deep enough, this threaded stem won't go all the way to the bottom. So you got to make sure that your plunge depth is far enough. So let me set the phone down, and I'll show you exactly how I'm doing this. So I take my template, put it on there, just like that. Oops. I'll go ahead, mark it, take the template off, and there we go. And right in the center. Take the drill, get it right where I want it. Watch my plunge depth. Here I go. You obviously want to try to keep that drill as straight as possible. You don't want to be coming in as an angle. So let's go ahead and see if it fits. Like I said, this is ribbed, so it's slightly bigger than the hole to make sure we get a firm contact. And you can see that 21/64 bit is exactly correct, because that initial notch that's on there, it sits in there perfect. Then there's some friction with getting those ribs in. You just take a hammer, tap that bad boy in like that, and go ahead, thread this on, and it's that simple. I've got a leg on there, or I've got this glide that's on there. It's nice and firm. I'm going to be able to adjust the bench work. I mean, I've made careful measurements on everything that I've done on here, but you're not, when you're roughing out stuff like this isn't cabinetry. You're not going to get it exactly correct. Once I start putting these modules right next to each other, I'm anticipating there to be some slight variances. I'm going to be able to very easily adjust that up or down, back and forth in both planes. So that's it. I'm looking forward to finishing up these modules, and I'll post some more information on these as I move along. All right, so we're out here doing a little bit more bench work, and now what I want to show you is how I'm actually screwing some of this bench work together, which sounds kind of boring, but a couple of tips here that I want to share with you guys. And the first one is that I'm countersinking everything, and I'm using good quality screws. And I want to explain why I'm doing that countersinking. You know, if you look at my this would be the front face of my bench work. You can see each one of these screws, I've got a little bit of a countersink on there. Because eventually, what I envision me doing is that as I build my wraparound and I've got some curves, I am going to put some fascia on that, and I don't want any screw heads sticking out because I want that fascia to be perfectly flush with my bench work. So that's why I'm countersinking this stuff in there. And then, you know, with the amount of time that I'm spending on bench work, and I'm going with a modular L girder type bench work, you know, it takes a little bit of doing to get it right. There's some expense involved here, so I want to make sure that it comes out right and my time is not being wasted. So instead of buying the cheapo screws that I would normally buy, where you just walk in and buy by the pound or whatever, I've actually made an investment in some pretty high quality screws. These are called Spax. My understanding is that they're actually designed in Germany, but believe it or not, they're made in the United States. So the particular ones that I'm using are 2-inch screws. They're like anodized. They're good for MDF. They're good for plywood, concrete. There's actually a little guide on the back of what you can use it for, what you cannot. You know, even masonry, so on and so forth. But the thing I really like about these is there's no pre-drilling required. And if you could pick up on this, at the very tip, there is like a serrated edge. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see it from my iPhone 5S, if that resolution is there. Probably not. But there's some fine serrations on the edge of these. You know, these screws are really nice. Good grab, no pre-drilling, and you know, the heads, you know, you can lock and load with your screwdriver, your electric screw gun, whatever the case may be. They don't burn out the heads, strip them out. These are really good. I think it's a worthwhile investment. Pay a little bit more, but to work with excellent quality materials, I think it makes a difference. So let's get back into that countersinking. So what I've got is, you know, I made a mark here of where my next hole is going to be, and I'll show you what I'm doing. I've got a, let me set up the camera here. Let's see, I've got a, it's a 5/16 bit that I've got on there. And what I'm going to do is, I am just going to, you know, they actually make specific tools to do this, but it wasn't really necessary for me. I'm just going to countersink a little bit of a hole here on my mark, and then within that hole that I'm channeling out, then I'll just change bits. I'll put my screwdriver bit in, and then I'll land that screw. So here, check it out. And if you can see that, it's all that's really required. Let me just open it up a little bit more and take a closer look at that. That's it, right there. And works pretty well. Don't have to buy any extra tool or anything like that. It's a poor man's countersink. Like I said before, we're not doing cabinet work here. That should suffice. Now I'll show you, you know, one of these 2-inch screws. No pre-drilling. I'll just land it on my mark. And these go in. Whoops. Sorry about that. It's going like butter. That's it. So, hope you got something out of this. A little bit of countersink action there, and some pretty high quality screws. Got these at Home Depot over in the nail and screw section.